How is this for an example of the woke world we live in these days? Prison officers have been told to stop calling criminals convicts because it could be seen as offensive under new guidelines from civil servants. Yes, this is from civil servants. Prison staff have also been told to drop the term ex-con. They've been urged to use terms like, believe it or not, persons with lived experience or prison leavers instead. Right, well, joining me now is former convict, who better to talk to, Winston Davies, in the studio with me now. So, Winston, your reaction to this story?
I think it's madness.
Oh, well, there we go. That's that then.
No, it is, because, look, you know, we're now sort of in a place where we can't call people by what they are. We can't say this, can't say that. I went to a kids' football tournament yesterday and took two of my boys, and they won. They won every game. But they weren't allowed to be called winners. No winners. Just you participants.
And this was run by the local football club?
Yeah, all that sort of stuff, yeah. And there's no winners, right? So
everyone gets a medal.
This is literally that, right? So they come off and they was like, oh, why didn't we win? I said, no, you did win. I said, you done the right things, you made the right choices, and you won. I said, if you hadn't, you would have lost. And I said, like, you know, in life, if you make the wrong choices, you could lose your house, your business, your wife, your marriage. And I said, like, that's a reality of life. You know, you make the wrong choices and then there's consequences to it. For me, I made the wrong choices. I got caught with a car full of cannabis and I got sent to prison, rightly. I lost. I become a convict. When I hear the word convict, even now, or ex-convict, there's a tension in me. There's a feeling of discomfort. But I used that when I was there and said, you know what, I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to be this. So I got trained in a trade. I come out, worked really hard, built several businesses since then. I've employed hundreds of people. I've contributed millions to the economy, and I've turned it around. And it's like, do you know what? Because I was called a convict, because now I'm an ex-convict, when I hear that, that just drives me on to want to do more. So,
well, you're the model story, aren't you, really? This is what we want as a society. We want people who are caught breaking the law to serve their time and come out, reformed citizen, work on their life. You've started a business, you're doing charity work. Of course, you're coming onto the TV now to share your experience. Do you think if everything had been sugar-coated for you when in prison, do you think that perhaps you wouldn't have had this success? Do you think sugarcoating with the terms like person with lived experience and removing that sort of... Because presumably this is to remove the stigma, but should we be removing the stigma?
No, I don't think so. I think there should be a stigma to it. Like I said, because it depends what you do with it. You know, do you use it to drive you on, or do you say, oh, well, that's it, I'm going to give up and I'm just going to, you know, continue taking drugs or whatever else I can do for the rest of my life? And the reality is, for me, the experience that I've learned over the last 15, 20 years ago now, the experience I've learned of turning it around over time is actually people care more about my actions and the man I am today than what I did 15, 20 years ago. People judge me on the content of my character rather than some label that someone wants to give me. So it's like, you know, the money, time and effort that they're spending trying to talk about this is madness. Talk about rehabilitation, talk about education, talk about training, getting people back into work. 3/4 of people that leave prison now, they don't have any employment. They don't have any idea about what they're going to do. They've spent 3, 4, 5 years sitting in their cell, not doing that much or just about ticking boxes, and then we're expecting them to come out and get a job and turn it around. Why is reoffending rate so high?
That's a very good point. You make a number of good points there. Civil servants work to come up with policies to make our public services better, to make our country better. Why on earth are they focused on language when, as you say, there are so many issues in our prison system?
Because they're not persons with lived experience.
Well, clearly not. They're people who are, you know, like writing essays about how we need to treat prisoners more nicely and things, and actually...
No, Emily, no one's contacted me, emailed me, called me and said to me, what do you think? You've gone through that system, you've turned it around, you've made changes and you're doing well, you're contributing back to this society. What do you think? People aren't doing that.
Has no one done that?
No one's done that, no. And I've been... The thing is, like, you know, even doing things like this, it's a bit of a risk. You know, I've got my businesses, I've got people that don't necessarily know my story, but I'm like, it's worth that risk because of the importance of what I've got to say.
Yeah, may I ask your view on... Because another story that comes up is about ex-cons, former prisoners, criminals, former criminals, being given jobs. Now, a lot of businesses are wary to hire people who've been in prison for time. What do you think of that? Because I know there are businesses up and down the country that do this on purpose. They purposefully hire people with that background.
100%. Look, I think it's a case-by-case basis. You know, if someone's in for serious violence, murder, serious sexual offences, you know, there's a difference. But actually, the majority of prisoners are actually short-term prisoners serving like 18 months or less. So for those people, there's got to be an opportunity for them to turn it around. So back in probably 2014, I was running a new build construction sites, and we were actually taking serving prisoners out of prison and giving them opportunities to come and work during the day. I found that those guys, because they had so much to lose, like if they didn't get it right, they're going back into closed conditions, they worked really hard. And actually, by giving them an opportunity, obviously it's like, again, case by case, you've got to speak to these people, understand where their head's at. But by giving opportunity, these guys have worked hard, and out of about 4 or 5 of them, none of them have reoffended since. Some have gone on to, you know, do management jobs.
Because they've got something to lose. They've got a stake.
100%.
Yeah, if you haven't got anything to lose,
100%.
Then you may as well continue with crime, giving people an opportunity and a chance to get on and, you know, build a new life. That's what we want. But we don't want to go too softly with the language. It's just completely pointless. Thank you very much, indeed.
Lovely. Thank
Winston
you.
Davies, thank you
Cheers.
for joining me to talk about that rather bizarre story from the civil service, calling ex-cons people with lived experience to not offend them.